co-op mode, round 109. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I am Todd Oxtra, one of your hosts, joined by my favorite man on the far East Coast, the Atlantic Sun, Mr. Mark Canardian Carabin.
How you doing?
Mark, I'm doing good. I was actually at the office this week, and our Canadian team was in-house. They actually brought some Canadian products in. So there was like this weird like coffee crisp bar.
You've never had a coffee? Oh, right. You guys don't have coffee crisp. That freaks me out. Okay. It's just a
we had a very proud Canadian like branding on it. It was very good. I should have grabbed one. I kind of kicked myself. But they also brought in Canadian tomato flavored potato chips of some sort. It was like a one ketchup? Brand. I can't remember. It was ketchup. And then there was also a
tomato flavored.
It was like an all done brand or something, like a weird
all dressed.
Yes, all dressed. There you go. Yes. So
absolute there you go. Canadian staples, man. So I've done a couple of Canadian exclusive snack reviews or like talk about kind of things with the Snack Network. I brought one up. I forgot, it might have been Coffee Crisp actually. And I brought it up. I was like, you guys don't have Coffee Crisp? And Dave Moore just happened to have a Coffee Crisp on hand that he got from like Justin Masson or something. It like worked out really well. But like, it always freaks me out when like something that I just take for granted, like our version of Smarties, like your Smarties are like the weird little chalky candy, right?
They're delicious. They're like 10 in a container and they're like delicious. They're very, very tart and sweet.
They're fine. We call those rockets because our Smarties are like a better version of M&Ms.
Oh, that's different then.
Yeah. They're like a candy coated chocolate. Like they're amazing. They're fantastic.
I don't know about this, Mark. I don't know. I don't know about this. But we do have world markets in the US, which are kind of like they get all of the international snacks and stuff, which is bridging the gap. We have like the bubble. We have the Jaffa cakes from the UK. My wife is, she lived in the UK for some time, so we do some of those things. But it was very exciting. So it was great to get some more Canadian cheese from, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Mississauga, which is outside of Toronto. Yeah, Mississauga. There you go. Exactly. Yeah, there you go. So it was great to get some Canadian influence in my body for a change. So there you go. I'm feeling like very international. It was a good time being back at the office. It was very odd to do that. I haven't done that in almost 3 months. So it was a little bit of normality in my crazy life. But you know what is really cool? To invite back a previous guest on our couch. Apparently he thought it was so comfy. He's coming back, and that's Mr. Cheesy C64. We call him Cheesy. Cheesy, welcome back, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you guys.
Great to see you.
Very exciting. And if you're watching on video, you're going to see his shirt. And just show that bad boy off. Just pick it up, wear it in pride, because many of us are jealous of you right now.
Yeah, for those that are just listening, it is a long sleeve that says Super Nintendo World on it. And then on one of the sleeves, it's got some 8-bit Mario items. And that was one of the things I picked up at Super Nintendo World.
Such a great shirt.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We're so jealous. So we're going to go into this in our bonus round because you are all our bonus round. You inspired this topic. We're going to get really excited about it. But we're going to hear all about this because it's all the rage. It's like going to be the year of Nintendo. We know this because we've got the theme park opening. It was in Japan. Mm-hmm. It's in the US now. We've got the Mario movie, and they graced us with their Mario 10-day discounts or whatever we're calling that, Mario Day with March 10th.
Yeah,
whatever. And then they're blessing us with a Switch with a pick a game. It's not like giving us a new game, but you know what? In their infinite wisdom, they're like, and that's enough.
The OG Switch, Yep.
Not the OLED.
Double red controllers.
Yep.
Not even the cool one that was like the blue overalls with the red things. So they're not even like. They're not even going all in, but that's okay. We know Nintendo knows us well enough that we love them despite their effort. It's like the boyfriend that does just enough. It's like, I remember an anniversary. We're going to Applebee's, and Mark, I don't know what the Applebee's equivalent is for Canada. Is it Swiss Chalet, or is that like
I was going to say maybe
event?
Swiss Chalet. Well, Swiss Chalet is just like it's great, like it's good, but it's like everywhere. It's kind of like generically great. You know what I mean? Like.
It's not special, right? It's not like
super special. No.
If you said, Lauren, it's our 10th anniversary, Swiss Chalet, baby.
Yeah, it's not. That's not happening.
Okay, there we go. So it's the Swiss chalet of anniversary gifts is the Mario 10 bundle. Very good. But you're also getting a discount on games. So very, very cool. So we're going to go all in on Cheesy's Adventures. This is going to be very cool, very exciting. We have lots of questions, so many things to cover. It's very neat because you're not near where the location is. So
I am not.
you can yeah. So the fact that you got to go, that's awesome because it's a trip to get there in California.
Yes.
Yeah, so Hollywood Studios, Universal Studios, Hollywood in California. That's pretty amazing. So, well, very, very cool. So thank you for joining us again. We're going to get all in on this. We're going to get all into the fun. But before we do that, we have to take care of some business, some clerical work, some admin in regards to our Patreon. But the exciting part is, Mark, I think my charm and wit got us our latest Patreon. So that is CJ from One Decision podcast. He's been on many of our podcasts. He joined me recently on Secret Friendship Night, and because he apparently thinks I'm the coolest guy in the street, he is our most recent Patreon. So, CJ, thank you so much for doing that. You join our other Patreons that we've had. We've had a great job of really a good time just really doing things. Mark, you've been putting out the Canardian Corners. Tell me a little about the Canardian Corner because we haven't really talked about that yet.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, right. Because I talked about this on Holocron Chronicles, but not really here. So the Canardian's Corner is basically, so far I've been kind of changing up what I talk about. So if it's like this week, it'll be like Mandalorian, Star Wars focused, and we just got some Star Wars news today. So, and I've been sick the last like 3 days, so I'm kind of lucky in that sense because I was going to record something just Mandalorian, but now we have some more stuff to talk about. But basically, yeah, when we're talking about video games, that's the week that I'm going to be talking about Star Wars stuff. And when I talk about Star Wars stuff on Holocron Chronicles, that's when I'm going to be talking about video game stuff on Canardian's Corner. And if anyone's been following my stuff for a very, very long time, it's similar to kind of like Warp Whistle Weekly, where I used to do kind of like weekly recap videos of whatever caught my attention in that time span. So far I've covered some video game stuff, a long episode about one of my favorite Jedi and his super unique lightsaber. That would be Gunji, who we saw in the Bad Batch not that long ago. And some exciting news that's the kind of stuff that I'm covering. So a little bit more in depth. If I think we hit on a topic here that I want to cover in more depth or something like that, that we just kind of skim over, that's another place that I can do that. So it's kind of varies based on the week, but it's been fun so far. And once I just keep getting hit with sickness, and it sucks because my recording voice sucks. I recorded one. Todd doesn't even know this. So I did record another episode a couple of weeks back that I scrapped because I hated it. I sounded tired. I sounded sick. And then I recovered and I finally felt good. And then the last 3 days I've been sick again. So
Mark, you need like a voice modulator, I think. Just like
I need to be
or something like that.
It's
there you go.
Toddler in daycare is just it's a nasty combination with and our winter's been so up and down. It'll be like super nice t-shirt weather and then like turn the furnace up and put a sweater on. Like it's just up down. So it's really playing with everyone's kind of immunities and sicknesses and all that fun stuff. So it's going to become a little bit more regularly paced, but yeah, it's fun. It's good to kind of get back into that free flowing solo video thing. It's different when you're talking to a couple of people here, and it's a whole different thing that I have to get back in the groove of. I did that for a while with the Warp Whistle, but yeah, it's neat.
Very cool. Yeah. And in our last release, Charlie just had a great interview with a Star Trek Discovery actress. It's pretty awesome. Check that out. And I've been doing a lot of comic book issues. The latest spinner rack we did, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin with Sean Capri and John Bernard. Awesome. That was a great time. So this is why we do Patreon, just to do deeper dives.
The new trailer, Ninja Turtles, looks so good. I'm going to derail this completely, but man, that looks just great.
Yeah, well, you know, and that's perfectly fine. I am a huge fan of that trailer. It looks like an oil painting. The Enter the Spider-Verse vibes are high in regards to the animation style and we finally are getting teenagers as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I love that.
So I said to my brother, that was the exact text. I sent him the trailer and I was like, they're actually teenagers. Like they sound and act like stupid teenagers. Like it's us. Let's throw something around and, if someone gets a knife in the leg, then okay, sure.
It's great.
It's
great.
It's interesting that Disney hasn't done anything like that yet. Like that kind of animation style, especially after how successful Into the Spider-Verse was, and I guess the new Puss in Boots movie is the same way.
Yeah.
But I do think that if we were to see anything Disney related, it also would be from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, because they're supposed to be doing Darkwing Duck.
Ooh.
I think that actually would work really well.
I would love that so much.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
After the last DuckTales and all the things they brought forward with that, I would love it. Yeah. That's what I've been waiting for the MCU, quite honestly, is animation to come to a broad release and do some crazy stuff that they just can't do live action. So that's what I'm hoping comes next.
Well, we're getting, cool. We're getting off track a little bit, but like we're getting the Spider-Man. What is it, like freshman year?
Freshman year. We're getting X-Men 97. So they are going into it a little bit, which is nice. And we've got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which I just watched, which is Mark's perfect for your kids because it's a little younger skewing.
It's not here yet. It's not.
What?
It's like one of the
Disney
only
Plus
things
now. That's weird.
Well, that's it. It's one of the only things that I've seen so far that's not on par in like Canadian versus US Disney. The only other things that I've seen is I think you guys got a couple of shows. How I Met Your Father, I think, is one of them, where you guys just got it all as a one dump.
It's on Hulu. Okay. Yeah, it's on Hulu already, though. That's why. Yeah, a little different.
So we don't have Hulu here. So everything gets dumped into Disney Plus and like Star or whatever it's called. There's like the adult section of it. So we get a couple of releases differently, but this is the only one I've seen so far. And I called them out on Twitter and never got a response of like, where's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur? Because it looks awesome. And Finn's obsessed with dinosaurs. Like it looks like a perfect kind of introduction.
Cute. It's very cute.
It's just nowhere to be found so far in Canada. It's so weird and frustrating.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you like this type of geeky, discussions that are not video game, Secret Friends Unite. Go there. We'll talk about it. I talked about Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl, and I'll be talking about all the stuff that's coming out. So very exciting times. And Cheesy, you've got an open invitation if you want to talk about things that are not video games.
I mean, I was already nerding out when you were talking about the new Star Wars news that we got today. So yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, very good. So we want to say thank you, though, to our existing patrons, because we were talking about Patreon. That's why we're here. And, the folks that support us, that have been supporting us the longest, have been Jamie Prinky, who is a best bud. And then our BFFs, Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias, and Missy Merchant. Thanks, guys. They're active in the Discord, and that's where you need to be. Be there. Even if you're not a patron, we're having a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, Mark, you had the last buy rent return. I picked this buy rent return, and I am being fully honorable in this one. I'm not picking any goofy Todd antics. I almost put something goofy in this, and I did not. I'm playing straight up. I'm all in. Although I didn't play into more of the Nintendo aspect, which, considering the audience, except for me, might have been a little bit of a cheat, but that's okay. We're going to try to stretch everyone.
All right. Okay, I do kind of want to know what joke weapon you were going to throw in here, though.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know. So we picked weapons this week, and I was trying to feel like weapon versus power up. So I almost picked like a Mario Kart, like blue shell, but I'm like, is that a power up or is it a weapon? So I'm like, you know what? I just went with a weapon because it's something you use all the time versus something you get up as like a random power up, like the fire flower or something like that. So it was weird to make that determination. So I picked weapons. These are things you carry with you all the time, depending on the game. So I picked Blades of Chaos from God of War, Galhorn from Destiny, and the Master Sword from Legend of Zelda. The one that I almost put in here was the Keyblade.
Okay.
The Keyblade is a really touchy subject if you're not a Kingdom Heart fan because a lot of people are like, oh, Kingdom Hearts. It's like the Sonic of anime games in a lot of ways for a lot of people. I don't mind it. I like the first 2 games and the rest I just fell off. But there's some people that are so like insane fans of it that it's like you can't even mention the word or you will be attacked because you will get it wrong. So I decided to leave that alone and not make a million enemies. So I think that was the wisest decision. So Cheesy, with you, if you're going to the weapon rental store, and you had to buy one, rent one, and return one of these weapons, what would you pick?
It's so tough. Because just out of pure honesty, I'm not familiar with 2 of them. So that
makes it a little tough.
It makes it a little tough. But just
do you want me to give you a little bit of a dramatic introduction?
I would love that. Yes.
Perfect. And Mark can, if you would want to take one of them, Mark, you can. I don't want to take all the joy because you were a Destiny fan, so you could probably speak to the glory of Gallahorn.
A little bit. Yep.
Okay. So I'll do the Blades of Chaos. So this is Kratos's from God of War, his standard melee weapons. They are for melee. He can throw them out like almost like whips. He can use them in tandem. He makes fire with them. He can add different elemental effects. He can make them go up in the air. It is like a chaos glory destruction. It's wonderful when you see what they can do. And they've been part of the series. Even the most recent iteration of God of War 2018, that was one of the big surprises where you then are revealed that you do get the Chaos Blades back. And it was just like such a wonderful moment. It's kind of like when you finally got the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild, right? It was kind of like, oh, we got it. This is like huge. And it was the same way in God of War. So that was why Blades of Chaos is kind of like it's so tied into Kratos, and it is such fun and awesome to use in its nature. So that is that one. Gallahorn, Mark, do you want to take that one or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I can totally. Gallahorn originally was like the weapon in Destiny. It was an exotic rocket launcher. It was the only rocket launcher. It could still be standing in this. I haven't played Destiny 2 in a long time, but it was the only one that had like tracking missiles that functioned separately. So it fired a bunch of missiles, and it basically like made it. It was almost a requirement for like later level stuff. Like if you were doing raids, if you were looking in like LFG groups and stuff like that, like it was, some of them would have it listed like Gallahorn required, or like, you know, it was just like you weren't playing if you didn't have this weapon. It was like the thing to have. It was kind of tough to get. You know, Zur, who sold exotic weapons, only had it a few times. It was the weapon. It was just, you know, like, yeah, you had to have it.
Okay.
It was a badass, but also it was just like a badass rocket launcher, right? Like
that's like a lion's head on it.
Lions. It was a cool design, like white gold and stuff. It was just, like that. What else would, like, Dragon's Breath, I think, and
there was a couple of that was Thorn, which was one of my favorite handguns that had poison on it. There was one. It was like one in the chamber where it was like a weapon. It was a sniper where you fired it, and if you got a critical hit, it would just automatic reload with the weapon. Yeah. It was great. So it is, and it was one of those things where, to Mark's point, it was if you missed it, you missed it, and everybody was jealous. And then they finally allowed Zur to sell it again, which was great. So Zur is like the merchant from Resident Evil 4. What you buying? He's hidden off. It's just so funny. Where's Zur? We got to find him. And and then they brought it back many other times, but it's not the same. And Destiny's never been able to replicate that type of must-have item. And it was such a community moment that it was amazing. So when you could get it again, so it's Destiny is around for 8 years because of certain things, and Gallahorn I think is one of those key contributors. Do you need me to explain Master Sword?
You know, while you're at it, you might as well.
Well, it's blue. It does things. It's
Mm-hmm.
great. If you charge it up, you turn around, I think.
Yeah.
You
So,
swipe things.
I mean, as you two were explaining the first two, I think I already came up with my answer. Like, I think Blades of Chaos I would buy because it sounds like it just can do everything. And the Gallahorn sounds like something that I would want to just like play around with. To say I've experienced it, you said it's a big community thing, so it was like, if I at least said that I've tried it, then I'm part of the community and I can talk about it. And the Master Sword, as much as I love Zelda, it breaks. So yeah,
Fair.
I wish that it didn't.
But you can shoot it if you don't get hit in the original Legend of Zelda, which was awesome.
True. I guess, yeah, it depends on what Master Sword we're talking about.
The new one looks badass, but I'm sure that's going to break too.
It's kind of like broken though, isn't it?
Sword.
Like corrupted.
It's already
barely
broken.
A blade.
It's looks like it's grabbing some energy from the Twilight realm potentially to continue the blade. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's got some holes in it. It looks like somebody left it in the dishwasher and, it's like melted off a little bit.
It's like when I look at my son, I give my son something and I come back and 5 weeks later, it's like, where's that thing I gave you? Like his trumpet? Oh, it doesn't work anymore, Dad. That thing you spent. Yeah, it's just that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think of my answers? Just
no, I appreciate your honesty in it because the easy answer would be like, oh, I love Nintendo, so it's Master Sword. But I think about Master Sword and I go back to the original NES game and like charging it up, you spin around, all those things. Very cool.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it wasn't the best weapon in the world. Didn't do much. It's just iconic from the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I guess it depends on the person that's using it. How skilled are you at using swords? Which could be said for any weapon, but especially with the Master Sword. I think you might have to have some kind of paperwork that says, "Oh yeah, I can use the Master Sword."
It's like the
you need a Indigo Montoya. You need him to train you first before you're really proficient.
Yeah, with his left hand.
Apparently, it wasn't worth that much because the guy's just hanging on a cave and just says, "Take this."
True.
You don't have to show any identification. So he's like, I got 13 in the back. Wait for the next guy to show up. Oh, boy. Well, I appreciate your honesty, Cheesy, and your open-mindedness to try new things. So, I would say watch videos of some of these other things because they're fun to watch. Yeah, okay. It's definitely a fun time. So, Mark, how about you, man?
I'm going to mix it up slightly. I'm going to say buy Blades of Chaos. I'm agreeing with that for Cheesy. However, I'm going to rent the Master Sword just because I want to. Well, honestly, I want to see what that new Master Sword's all about. The Twilight energy kind of deal, and it's just such an iconic weapon. And Gjallarhorn, even though I was a Destiny player and I had a Gjallarhorn, I found the way that I played and the groups that I played with, everyone was rocking Gjallarhorn. So I was usually that odd one out that was saying like, you know what? I'm going to use that sniper or I'm going to use something else that I felt would complement it better rather than having 4 of the same weapons. You 3 are doing this and I'm going to do the precision shots or I'm going to do this thing to mix things up a little bit. And for me, that was a little bit more of an interesting role to play of some sort of technical support or a technically different role in Destiny. So I always want it to be different. So even though I had one, it was in my locker and I always want it to be a different role. So Gjallarhorn for me is going to be a return and I'm going to pick one of the other awesome weapons in Destiny just to be a weirdo.
So would you say that you were embarrassed of your community?
No, not at all.
Well, you didn't want to like be like them. You didn't want to rock the same weapon as them.
No, for me, it was what else can I bring to the table? What would be more interesting for me to play as?
Okay.
And it was, for me, it was like, I played raids and I played, missions and stuff where it was just, a full fire team going in, Gjallarhorns ablazing. and it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, if I could mix it up and add a different support or a different tactic to it, that's what I wanted to do. And you know, if sometimes I'd get kicked out of a group because they would be looking like, oh, you don't have a Gjallarhorn with you? No, well, I'm going to use this kicked.
It's in my locker. I got to go back to my planet and get it.
Yeah,
right.
Like, it was
my ship.
Yeah. But for me, it was, it was also like, I wanted to explore other games or other weapons in the game. You know, it was not always win, get all the loot. It was like, okay, well, like the game's more than just a heat-seeking rocket launcher. Like, you know, you can't play Turok and use the cerebral borer for every single kill. It's just, you know, it's fun to watch and the raptor's head explodes, but like kind of becomes monotonous after a little while. So mix it up a bit, you know. It was a fantastic weapon, and the hunt for the Gjallarhorn was, for me, my favorite part.
The journey. It was the journey
to get it. It was such a big deal. And when I got it, I remember like standing up and like throwing my headset and just being like, yes, I got it. Yes, I got it. And the people that were with it, like freaking out, whatever. And, you know, it was cool. And then to use it a couple of times, but then afterwards it was, you know, like, what else do I have? What else can I bring to the table? Right.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of the feel. So, it was iconic, but if I have to return one, it's going to be that.
Yeah, it's very much a part of a team and what you need to complement it. And when everybody has a Gjallarhorn, it doesn't feel as special, and you don't feel like you're contributing in a certain way. It's kind of like Splatoon. You want, when you rock a crew, you want people that complement things versus everybody has the same tool set. Like Cheesy, you play a lot of Splatoon. You know, you don't want everybody to have the same skill set, the same load up and everything, the same rollers, or, you know, those different things. It's like, because you know it's not going to get you when you need to hit against other teams that are going to probably be different enough, and everybody brings a skill set that's going to be needed to, you know, mark that map. So it's very similar to that. Yeah. Like, it's like you need I need a wizard, or I need I need all these different things. I need a Vanguard, I need Titan, I need this to get my crew together, and you need this setup. And my son's been playing, you get a kick out of this, Mark. Logan has been playing Destiny 2. He played the new expansion. He's played 500 hours in Destiny 2.
Wow.
I've only played 250 hours in Destiny 1, and then Destiny 2 I played maybe 100. So my son is the master, and he's got a lot of free time in his hands, but yeah, same thing. So, yeah, there you go. For me, this is a hard one because, to your point, I think the Blades of Chaos is your everyday, you gotta have it. It's going to clear out rooms, and you might get something new and pretty, but you go back to the Blades of Chaos. They are amazing. They do so many cool things, and they are highly effective. And it is, you know, it is your way to go. It's like Master Chief's, you know, battle rifle. It is the one you go back to. It is the have to have when you're getting in there. So I would say that's the buy. You know, the Gjallarhorn is probably a rent, just because it is something I want to have and have access to, just if I need it to bring it back in, because it is cool when you use it. It is neat. Those tracking, you know, rockets coming in, it is neat, but everyone has one now, so it's not as special. And the Master Sword, to your point, yeah, it just feels like it's something that's not as exciting as it probably could be. I don't know if there will, I mean, it's neat when you get it in Breath of the Wild, but, and it is the weapon you can bring back. You get to charge it up again. But it is not like, wow, it made me that much better at Breath of the Wild when I had it, which was probably the most deflating thing. It was kind of like, well, I got this cool, you know, ice wand that's cooler and neater, and it's neat, and it's been leveled up. So, you know, or I get something from the castle from Breath of the Wild that's much higher leveled anyways, and it's more effective. So, yeah, it kind of took out that like excitement. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's a neat mix, and I'm glad we had a good discussion about this because it's different for everybody. And I could have picked a million different things. I mean, I also went with like Master Chief and like the plasma sword in Halo. That would have been cool because it's a neat weapon. It's like a one-hit kill, so it's kind of nice to have. But you know, it runs out of its charge, so then you got to get another one. So it's kind of limited usability. So
you did
let us know, folks,
if the blue shell is a weapon. And I think it could be considered a weapon, especially with like the advertising that they have around the spiny shell, the blue
Yeah.
spiny shell for the Mario movie, it seems like we're going to get a little bit of backstory as to how that works. And I'm kind of nervous. Like, does he get a new shell every time? Like, does he explode? Is it what's happening there?
Is there a real Koopa in there? Is there a real Koopa inside that you're just destroying every time?
Yeah.
Ooh, poor kids.
we need some deep lore on the
Nintendo's just for kids.
Exactly. It's like when they described, like, I guess the original lore of Nintendo, like the people of whatever the country of wherever Mario's where they're in the what is
Mushroom
it,
Kingdom.
the Mushroom Kingdom. They're actually, the bricks are people, so when you crush them, you're actually killing people. It's very dire and weird. So don't really look into that, kids. You don't want to. Kind of like when Mark talked about all those weird freaky Pokemon. I don't want to know those lore because it just makes you feel like, wow, this isn't for kids anymore. Kids, stop watching Nintendo. But I did want to hit on the Winter Gamer. Brendan Myers did say he had some choices on this. He's going to return Galhorn because melee weapons are more personal. Good point. Rent Master Sword because it's mostly used for banishing evil. That's not a bad thing, though, right?
Yep.
Unless you like evil. And then buy Blades of Chaos with being able to create flames comes in handy, especially when dealing with the winter, snow, and ice. Being able to throw them and twirl them just around. It seems like I would be grinning ear to ear when using them. It is like a ballet of death. And you know what? Who doesn't like a ballet of death? It's my favorite dance.
That's definitely the best kind of ballet.
A Black Swan, that's too creepy anyways. Nobody wants to talk about that. Oh, yeah. Well. So we're going to get on what we've been playing. So we talked about the weapons we would secure if we had our druthers. But what have we been playing? So Cheesy, what have you been playing, man?
I just finished Metroid Prime last night, the remaster. And it is a phenomenal game. It is so good. And
how did you play it?
Like control-wise? Is that what you mean?
Control-wise, yes. Because they've got every control scheme under the sun.
I did dual stick. I think it worked really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like the Pro Controller, or are you doing like dual sticks with the Pro Controller? So you're doing handheld.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of buying so many Joy-Con, and like 100% of my time is on a Pro Controller. I think it's one of the best.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's out there. No, I know, but I feel guilty of all of these different like controllers. And then part of like having the Joy-Con is like, if people come over, they're like, oh, well, we want to play. And you're like, yeah, I've got 1,000 controllers. None of them are charged. So let me.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
I've got a box of them to send back to Nintendo because they're all drifting.
Yep. So let me get my charging pack out, and we'll wait a few hours, and then by that time, are you still going to want to play? I don't know. Yeah.
Such a sad story.
But yeah, Metroid Prime. I'm just so happy that Samus is getting the love that she deserves, and I hope that we see more of it. I hope we get Metroid Prime 2 and 3, and in a way, it makes me wonder if we are getting a Switch 2 or whatever the next thing is, if this is their way of testing if Metroid can be a game at release. Because right now, Metroid is not really a big seller. However, with Metroid Dread and how big that sold, and now Metroid Prime Remaster, and now Fusion is coming out on Mario Day, it just seems like they're kind of testing the waters a little bit to see if this could be a big seller.
Yeah, absolutely. If you know what, if they gave Metroid the same kind of marketing treatment that they gave Fire Emblem, it's just they drilled Fire Emblem so much. They still do. I'll get like a tweet streak notification from Nintendo that's just like, "Hey, Nintendo," and it's just like Fire Emblem characters or like a background or something or like an advertisement for this or that. It's like, holy crap, man! Like you can't be a Nintendo fan and not know something about Fire Emblem. If they did the same thing and put the same energy into Metroid, like you would be going to Super Metroid World. Like you could, like it just, it could be everywhere. So I love, like you said, that they're, Dread kind of lit this spark again, and we're seeing Fusion. We're seeing this out. Like, yeah, let's go. I'm hoping the same thing.
Mark, you make a great point, because as much as they push Fire Emblem, they have, and there's been like 85 Fire Emblem games, the Warriors, all these things, and Smash really brought them to the forefront. Like, people actually, oh, this is a thing. Oh, I want to know these more characters. And I don't think any of those games have sold more than like 2 million, but we know Dread's probably sold about 3 million. And we know that Remaster is selling out, at least on the physical form, and it's $40 digitally. So I don't know how Nintendo's going to report this out, but it seems like there's more people that would get into Metroid than there would be in Fire Emblem. That's just me from like a lens of what's easier to get into versus here's all these kids at a school and it's turn-based, and it's like, that doesn't seem like it's like a wide, I mean, it's got its niche, and I totally get that, but yeah, it just seems weird that Nintendo is like, it's all on Fire Emblem, but I'm like, you've got so many people that are into Metroid and want it to happen. We just want you to care about Nintendo. And it seems like we're on that cusp of Dread and then this, and but shadow dropping just seems like the weirdest thing, because I'm like, I don't know if that hurt it or helped it from like a marketing perspective, right?
It gets the initial hype up, but like in today's market / climate / economic situation kind of thing, like, it's tough on a lot of people, right? Like that, it's like, do I afford bread or a new video game? Or, you know, it's like, it's tough, right? So I think shadow dropping something a year or two ago, awesome move. Shadow dropping something right now when people can't plan, even if it is just $40, like, for a lot of people, that's $40 that they would have to plan out for a couple of weeks in advance. So it's a different kind of climate right now with everything being more expensive and purse strings being a little tighter. So shadow dropping, it's kind of risky. This, I don't know. For me anyway, that's kind of how I've seen it so far. And I'm a okay example, not like that I'm super broke, but I just bought Finn a bed. So I was like, I'm not buying a video game this week. Screw that. I just dropped.
Mark, you can't play a bed, man. Screw that.
I know, but I was like, I just dropped a sickening amount of money on a kid's bed and Paw Patrol blankets and shit. So I was just like, like $40 for me is just like, no, I'm good. I have other stuff to play, as you will see in a second. But that, like, I'm one person that should have been like, yes, I'm ready to go. But it was like that extra $40 that I was just like, not after dropping a fucking, like, just ridiculous amount of money on, like, beds are expensive, man. I haven't bought a bed in a long time. So,
and they don't get just one bed, Mark. They'll get another bed when they're older. So enjoy that.
So this was like, and that's like, I kind of bought like I didn't buy like the little baby race car bed. Like, I bought him like a real, like, the real like mattress box kind of whatever deal.
But the race car
we did that. We did that. Yeah, exactly. We did the bigger boy bed, and then we had to buy Logan a teenager bed. So yeah, you'll get into that.
That might be the case in 15 years or something.
But, you're good for like
for now.
Unless he like starts complaining.
But Todd, going back to what you said, like, which one is easier to get into? I think it might be Fire Emblem, and I'm saying that as somebody that hasn't even played Fire Emblem before. I think that Metroid maybe there's a lot of backtracking in Metroid, so maybe people don't have the patience to play through that, and there's not really fast travel. And I don't really know if I want fast travel, because then it's not a Metroid game.
Right. And it's not as handholdy. A lot of, like, the Metroid games are tough.
Yeah.
Like, if you, like, anyone that played Dread, like, I know a lot of people that just gave up on Dread, or, just
Mark, that's kind. You can say Todd. Todd gave up on Dread.
It's not just you, Todd. It's not, I'm not pointing you out. There's a lot of people that didn't finish that game, where I haven't really played Fire Emblem games, but it seems like they are a little bit more standard. Like, you can grind, and like most RPGs, you can kind of grind your way through and level up and kind of experience the story. So, I think you, like, barrier to entry gameplay wise, I think you're right on.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison. I tried a Fire Emblem on 3DS. I tried it. I'm like, This is like nothing is happening. I'm having too much dialogue about people. It's about relationships. I'm like, where is the actual game? And to me, it was just like, it was very anime heavy, and I totally get it. So for me, it's like, from actually trying to get into the game, Fire Emblem's just, it's a tough nut to crack. I think if you're a fan of that, and that's what I think is, there are fans of that type of game that are all in on that. Now, where I think there's a broad range of people that are into Metroidvanias and difficult games these days. So I think that is a bigger audience outside of the rest. So I'm like, I think it's poised to be huge. And if Nintendo can tee it up in a right way, but once again, shadow dropping it, not getting out broadly, only communicating to certain people that are in the know, I think it'd be. So I think Metroid Prime 4 is maybe the game, because I think that could be where they really get into it, to say it's a modern game. It's not a remaster from 20 years ago. We can learn what we've done to make games, especially with retro behind it, because I think retro made a fantastic game 20 years ago, and now they're just updating it to now making a game. I think that's the studio that can really nail this. And I was telling Cheesy before we started, I did not play the game right away. I originally played it on GameCube, did not beat it. And apparently she's saying, Todd, you were almost done with the game. Like, but I stopped because I couldn't beat it. So I'm coming back to the game to beat it. But I bought the physical copy because I don't know, when it comes to Nintendo, when they do certain things on digital, I'm a little iffy sometimes. And especially if I want to share the game, digital's not easy to share on Switch. So I'm like, I can just give it to a friend. Or if you have a family, Mark, I would not recommend digital with you and Finn, because guess what? Do you want to buy 2 copies of a game just so you can both play it, or say, here to son, don't lose it, and play the game?
We had this discussion on the weekend. My brother and his girlfriend just kind of moved in together, and they both have Switches. And we were talking this exact thing of like, you know, like he was asking a couple of games that I've been playing and stuff. And he's like, oh, digital, physical. And I was like, you know, digital. And he's like, shit, I'd love to just grab that from you. And I was like, we got to start buying physical games and just being able to share, especially single player stuff. So like Metroid Prime, I might actually buy that physical just to be able to be like, here, play this. Cause it's not like I'm worrying about jumping online. Like if it's something like Mario Kart, like that should be always on my system. I'm good to go. Splatoon, same difference. But like that kind of thing, Pokemon Snap, I actually bought physical because Loren wanted to check it out, and it's such a pain in the butt. So like right now, between 4 of us, there's 4 Switches, and a couple of years, you know, I'm sure Finn will get a hand-me-down as one of us upgrades and stuff. Like it's, it's so easy, like you said, to just.
It's why I got the Metroid. It's why I got the Mario collection, 3D All-Stars. That game is not digital to anybody. Now it's like the people, if you have a physical copy, I can give it to people to play, which is just such a thing. I'm like, how many more people bought a Switch after that game came out and was no longer available? And it's like, sorry, you're late to the party. You should have bought a Switch 3 years ago. It's just such a weird mindset, you know, just to keep their games away from people. So, oh well. But to your point, I did get the game. I'm playing it again. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And there's one point though. I think this is funny. Somebody mentioned this. I think maybe Joey Ferris talked about this. He said, "Is scanning a good or a bad thing in Metroid Prime?" And I said, I think in perspective, it's a great option. I think it's way too overdone. And I think just like when you were in detective mode in Arkham Knight, you tend to just scan everything. And it's like, now I'm just scanning everything versus just enjoying the mode and the mood I'm in. So now I'm scanning random shell on the ground. I'm like, that doesn't seem interesting to me. So it's losing its like impact. And I'm like, maybe using it more selectively as like almost like a detective to learn your environment versus like, I'm just going to use it all the time. And now it's like, I'm like, God, I feel like that's all I'm doing. It's a scanning game with some selective shooting.
That kind of differentiates it, right? Like that, because Metroid Prime's not a first-person shooter
game. No, it's an adventure.
It's a first-person adventure game, right?
Absolutely.
So I think they had to do that for the first one, especially of like slow things down, scan this, explore the environment, figure out the puzzle, figure out what happened here. This is not Call of Duty. This is not like. Think of the games we were getting back then. This is what, because it wasn't those type of games. This wasn't a run and gun, shoot 'em up. It wasn't time splitters. It wasn't like that kind of thing, right? Like,
it was a lot of jumping in a first person 3D zone, which was different as well, which took some hand holding to figure out. I just thought if it was a little bit more selective versus I'm going to scan 18 things in a room. To me, it's like, oh, now it's just like, it's not giving me back really interesting information most of the time. It's like, oh,
I think they fixed that in the later ones though, didn't they? Like I think the second and third, like I don't think
maybe
we're as scan heavy, if my memory serves me correctly.
For me, I'm a big like world building guy. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love to know the world that I'm in. So I was scanning everything and just to learn new lore. However, I do understand that it does become repetitive and like especially if you're going for a completion like 100%. It's annoying, and there may be some things that you missed. Like I finished, and I think I had like 67% done.
Oh, you can
And
track it?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
you can.
So it's almost like a trophy system without a trophy system for
Yeah, and like
achievements.
it will tell you how many things that you've scanned. So it'll be
Oh,
like you've scanned over 50% of what's in the game. Here's some bonus features in the extra mode. But it's also kind of disappointing because you're like, oh well, what did I miss? You know, like
Yeah.
and even if you are a world building person, there's things that you missed, and maybe those were important. Some things you do need to scan in order for the game to continue.
yeah.
So I get that,
Mm-hmm.
but others maybe I don't know. Maybe they have like a mode. Would that help if they were like, you know, these are the things that you need to scan. If you want to scan everything else, you
Mm.
can. Because yeah, I get that it slows down the game for some people, and people are probably just like mashing through A, and they don't really care.
Yeah. Like golden path scan mode or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like the detective mode. What's like where you're trying to figure out like if I use it all the time, am I really paying attention to the environment, or is it always in detective mode in like Arkham the game? So it's like
Yeah.
what's the good way to like to your point, Cheesy, to give you lore to
Mhm.
learn more at the environment versus like how about you limit what I can scan so you give me the lore that you think is important to build the world versus once again it's another pirate in the ground that I've killed already. It's going to give me the same thing I've already learned.
Yeah.
Maybe don't do that and just you limit the good and the new or
I
something.
will say if you die after like scanning something, like you're fighting a boss and then you die, but you didn't have that saved before, you have to go and scan it again. So that part is annoying. Like I wish
Yeah.
that wasn't a thing because there probably were times where I had died and then I go back into that world and the things that I had already scanned technically aren't scanned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like busy work then, right? Like you're like, okay, well, I got to
Yeah.
go back and do it versus, yeah, this is fun for the second and third time because some of
Yeah.
those bosses are rough.
Well, there were
It's not
times
an
where
yeah.
where I would like scan something and then I would just go back to a save station just to say, okay, I've scanned that. I don't need to scan it
Right.
again.
Right. Yeah.
Ooh.
Go
So
back
I
to
There's no fast
okay.
travel, right? So then it's
right. Yep. Yep.
whew, that's a tough one. Very, very good. Awesome. Well, I think I mentioned I am going to revenge this game and beat it eventually, complete it, as I said. But it's really cool. I'm hoping my son really enjoys it because he didn't enjoy it with the Wii controls. So I think he's going to really enjoy it with the dual sticks.
Yeah.
Mark, what were you playing?
So I've been picking out a couple of things. For the most part, I'll run through a couple of things very, very quickly. So Pokemon Scarlet just had like a Pokemon Direct. They announced a couple of new things, but they announced two new legendaries that you could do raids on. Iron Leaves and I forget the other one's name. Should have looked that up. Anyway, there's two, one for each version. But the nice thing about that is you can jump in and do the one that's specific to your version, but then you can jump online and join a raid to get the other one. So after a bit of grinding, because they were like super tough, like 5 or 6 star raids, whatever the toughest one is, I basically had to get the two Pokemon that I use for the raids up to like level 94, 95 in order to contribute with my team. And anyway, I caught them. They're limited time only, so I think there's like 2 or 3 weeks to catch these, and then who knows when they'll be back. So that's the first kind of like little bit of the DLC additional stuff that they've
Mm-hmm.
announced, and the rest of it's going to be coming later. So it was a good way to get back into Pokemon Scarlet and kind of like start retraining my team and really buffing them up to take on these harder level raids. Because once I finished the game, it was kind of like, I know I could do these raids, but do I want to for other terraforms or this or that? But like when it's exclusive Pokemon, that's when I'm going to start to go after it. So now my team's kind of encroaching on that like level 100 kind of thing. Like I have this OP kind of team that's built and ready for anything. And now I'm kind of thinking of like, okay, well, if I could save this team and then restart with another team, what would that structure look like? So it's kind of cool to go back into Pokemon Scarlet, get ready and hyped for the DLC, and continue exploring around that game. Another one I've been playing, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga for the GBA on Nintendo Switch Online. This is a game that I dabbled in a little bit back on the GBA because my cousin owned it. I never owned this one. So I liked like the Super Mario RPG kind of style game, but never fully played this. So it's really cool to play, and also a fun little way to play around with like the different settings on the GBA mode. So like, smoothing or small screen, handheld, what's it look like on a 4K TV, all that kind of stuff. And the game's really fun. The humor holds up, everything kind of really holds up in this, that experience. And it's a slow enough paced game that I can create a save state, back out, jump back in, mess around with whatever setting I like. How's it look? That kind of stuff. So it's good. And I can just kind of pick at it while I'm doing something else. So that's like been my handheld game the last little bit. And the last one that I'm really kind of diving into, but I only started this one recently. So I'm about maybe 2.5 hours into this one, is Atomic Heart. Just dropped on Game Pass a couple of weeks ago. And it's interesting, I'll say. The opening I found was incredibly slow. Like I found myself almost kind of ready to just like shut it off and just say like, why did I choose to play this instead of buying Metroid this week? What's wrong with me? Like it was that kind of like, there was one point where you walk through this, like this town or whatever to get to a tower. And then you walk into the tower, you go up an elevator, a robot hands you a key, you turn around and go back down the elevator. I was like, is that seriously all that's happening here? Like, this is a lot of BS exposition that like you could have just told me or shown me in a quick kind of cutscene. Like I didn't have to do any of this, and it really gets nowhere very slowly. And then finally, like the action starts, and it's cool once the action starts. And seeing the trailers for this, I kind of expected it to be a little bit more first person shooter, but the first thing you get is an axe. And it's like, oh, you're going to be up close and personal with these robots. Like, let's take them out. Let's go. But it's also just weird for me with the game being set in this, like, I mean, it starts to fall apart pretty quickly, but like at the start of it, it's just kind of like this perfect version of like Russia or the USSR kind of thing. And it's like, with everything going on in the world right now, is this the setting that I want to be like in a fantasy tech world about kind of thing? Like, they won World War II and now like they're this super tech advanced kind of thing. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it would have been cool if things did go that way and they weren't what they're doing now. Cause now they kind of, aren't great, to say the least. So it's just been like weird, like playing through it and being like, okay, yeah, they're like Russian robots taking over everything and some guy, but it's never like, so far anyway. And like, I'm too early on to be super spoilery, but like, so far it's not like the Russians' fault. It's like some traitor's fault. Right. So, I don't know. It just feels weird to be like, yay, Russia's cool. And it's like, I don't really want to kill robots. And then there's like awkwardly sexual stuff in it. Like there's this like robot jukebox looking thing that you go to upgrade your weapons. And it's like the most overtly disturbingly sexual stuff that I've ever heard in a game. And it's like, what am I playing? Like you've gone from like Mother Russia and there's like weird bots trying to kill you. And then this other bot's like saying some very perverse things to you. And it's like, I don't get the tone that it's going for. Like if the game was like Duke Nukem the whole way through, you kind of expect that. But when it comes out of like this nowhere, like there's robots, there's stress, there's like this, there's that, you're trying to sneak through. You don't have very much ammo. It's very like Resident Evil kind of vibes to it. And then there's this machine that's saying some like pretty vulgar stuff to you. It's like, it's very off-putting. So I don't know if I have to be in like a different mindset to play this. Like I said, I put a couple hours into it because I want it to kind of see if I'd ease into it. But it's not like super strong pulling me back so far. And if anyone's played it further, I'd love to hear like, should I stick with it or is this the game I'm getting? Because like, I don't know, man, right now I'm kind of ready to bail on it. It's interesting. Like some of the gameplay is interesting, but I don't know, man. There's a weird feeling for me through this game.
So Mark, I've not played as far as you did. And this game is a visual showpiece. It's by a team.
It's great.
From Russia. That's the hard part, right? It's and then when you start hearing comrade, and it just feels like I struggle to feel like I don't know if I feel good in this world. And I totally get it.
Yeah, not at all.
You can feel like you're in a world where this is a dystopian future where maybe it's made to feel like this is like a wonderful world they've created and it's great, but there are flaws and you then have to, it's like BioShock, right? It's like they try to create a wonderful world and then you find that this society is built on lies and it falls apart. And I kind of feel like there's some of what they're doing. It just, I don't know if the studio, my Munfish, I think is the studio, is competent enough to do it well. To your point, Mark, about the weird, like what they bring in to show you the way it looks is beautiful. And you're an agent essentially undercover. And it's a snooze for the first 2 hours, essentially, where there's not gameplay really. It's just showing you the world. And you do a little bit of this, like you get this glove and it's talking to you, but you really don't know what to do with the glove. And it's just very weird. And then to your point, Mike, I've heard about the weird sex vendor bot, which is kind of like the, it's kind of like the BioShock. It's a carnival of values type of thing, but it's doing the same thing. But just that's not sexy, and this for some reason is. And apparently they abandon the sexiness of it later on. And then I've heard like the combat's not that solid, and so it's almost like the sum of its parts don't pay off, right?
Yeah, so like the combat's very quick, but also at one point today, like I was trying to play it for a bit, and it just wouldn't switch back to my axe. And my shotgun was out of ammo. Like I had to reload, but the reloading so slow. I was just like, switch back to the axe, and I hit it like 3 times and got socked by a robot. And it was like, okay, well, I guess that didn't work. It's like, and then it's like has to reload again. You died, load, spawn back in, start back. And like, luckily I landed some better shots with a shotgun and killed the robot that I was trying to kill without having to switch to my axe. But it was just like, just make the buttons work. Just make the combat work. Like
it just, from what I've heard, it just seems like the juice isn't worth the squeeze, I guess is the best way to put it. And games only, there's so many games, you only have so much time to make a first impression. And if you don't nail it right away, it's like, what's the draw to bring me back in? Is it the story? Is it something? And I definitely did not feel like coming back to the game, but I'm like, I want to give it a firm impression. But everybody I've heard from just said it's like, it's nothing's going to bring you back to say this is well worth it. It's one of the best games of the year. Some people have applauded it, and that's fine. But first impressions are, typically the only impression sometimes you give a game, and because there's too many things to draw you away. And for me, and based on what you said, and it's like I feel like you're echoing a lot of things I had, and I'm like, you haven't told me anything that makes me feel like, well, yeah, Todd, you should put an extra 2 hours into this game because it's going to be that much better. So. Yeah, and it's Game Pass, so it's no loss, but Xbox has been touting this game, and maybe it wasn't the right game to get behind. Yeah, don't know.
Yeah,
do you think that you're going to go back to it? Like, are you going to play more of it, or
I don't think I'm going to.
Yeah.
At this point, I think so far. I wanted to play it based solely on trailers. I kind of avoided real reviews for this. I avoided like videos and things diving into it. And I haven't really listened to podcasts that have talked about it so far, or I've skipped past that part because it, like Todd said, Xbox was kind of touting it as like, hey, cool, it's Game Pass day one, and I was kind of excited for it. And it was giving off some BioShock vibes. I think now is the time for me to go through and hear some reviews, read some reviews, go back to those podcasts and see what people that I trust are saying.
Mhm.
And if those people are like, stick with it, hour 5, it picks up, I might. But I've also heard that about a couple of other games. Alien Isolation was one of them. It's like, it gets good after 10 hours. I don't have the time. I put in, what did we agree to that one? Like 3 hours or something like that, Todd.
Mhm.
And I was just like,
Yeah.
counting down the minutes until I
Yep.
was like, this game is not exciting. I've got too much stuff to do. I've got a 2-year-old. For anyone watching the video, you can see the blood on my face. My 2-year-old wanted to give me a kiss and grab my face hard. So he takes away my health bars and stamina.
He said, "Dad, get good."
So my limited time to play games, do I want to go back into something that's going to take 10 hours to get good? Or do I want to put another 50 hours into Pokemon that I know I love? It's always a tough balance for me, right?
It's funny because when you were describing it, at least in the beginning, you were like, oh, you got to grab this key, then you go down the elevator. And then I was like, oh, this sounds like Pokemon. Like, as much as I like Pokemon,
Oh.
that's the same thing. Like, you go, the professor visits your house and is like, hey, I have something really important to tell you. Come visit me at the lab. And it's like, you couldn't.
But that's after an hour cutscene, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine like
there's an
Pokemon.
hour cutscene.
It's like non-interactive. You're basically going through and seeing the world, and yeah,
it's a very, very long opening. Think of the opening for Pokemon, but you don't get a cute companion after 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, or it just, it takes an hour. And then you're kind of like, okay, sure. Yeah. Nothing happened in that hour. I just wasted.
Wow.
I could have watched, Mando and the Bad Batch, but instead I wasted an hour watching this useless cutscene of a guy talking to his glove. And
it's not interactive at all. Like, there's no
very little interaction.
Yeah,
very little. If there is interaction,
like,
it's hold the stick in to walk through a crowd, or again into a building, up an elevator, down an elevator. It's very, very minimal.
You feel like you're in a market, and you can relate to this Disney or a theme park. It feels like you're in a small world Soviet Union.
100%.
It's
without
very
the super
weird.
annoying song.
Exactly. And you might get busted by the authorities.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah, not a strong opening at all.
No, I got really tired. I'm like, and it just felt like very disconcerting considering world events to me. And it's like, I don't know if I want to live in this world right now.
I can't get past the Russia thing, to be honest.
It's weird.
So much disrespect for that country and supporters of that country and what they're doing. And
Did I tell you, Mark, that really I got actually essentially, I think, assaulted on Twitter by someone when I mentioned very similar things about this game? I was playing it. I'm like, I don't know if I like this. It feels very disconcerting considering things. And I had a person coming out of the blue and essentially sounded almost like a propagandist saying, why don't you like this? You just want to kill Russians? It was just very weird. I'm like, no, I wasn't going there.
You're killing robots in this. They might be Russian robots. It's just it's weird to hear.
It was
like
weird.
Todd said, it's weird to hear comrade this, comrade that. Russia's great. We helped win World War II, and now we're thriving, and everyone loves us, and this and that. And it's like cool to have a fantasy world, but you're kind of like real fantasy at this point. Like I don't know. Yeah. It's just it's off-putting.
Yeah, it's not the right game for the right time. Maybe.
Yeah.
Outside of real world events.
Nintendo delayed freaking Advance Wars, man. Like,
yeah,
I doubt there was any mention of any real country anywhere close to that game, but they still delayed the hell out of it. Like, it ain't the right time for this game, man. Or like retool it, because there's nothing that I've seen so far that's like, oh, that's 100% Russia. Like, they could have just swapped out some voices or something and just been like, hey, this is Lussia, and just make up a different country that doesn't exist. Like, you could have done some other stuff that's not having real world mixed feelings in there. I think, you know what I mean? Like they're like the BioShock games, like you don't have to tie it to something that exists, right? Like this could be just, it's a floating city in the sky, not tied to any specific real world location. Cool. And you know, because like the first person you meet, aside from like people that you hear on the radio, like first person you meet is like a British woman, and it's like, okay, cool. Now it's just like generalized Europe. Like that could have been right, but it's just, it feels weird, man. I don't know.
It would be akin to let's I guess take a dramatized and romanticized version of the Nazi Empire, saying, "Hey, we won! Look at all these Nazis! Isn't it great?" And it's like, it's kind of tone deaf. It's weird.
It'd be like Wolfenstein, but if Wolfenstein celebrated instead of being like, "This isn't the future that I wanted," let's do some stuff. You know, like it's just, yeah, it's so. The first few hours anyway are so weird. Maybe it gets better. Maybe it shows some dark underbelly stuff that it's like, you know, I don't know.
We're exposing the cracks in the narrative, and it's not really that. And there's people that are within this regime that are being held back, and this is about their salvation. But that narrative is not really well known at this point.
So if someone has played it more than us, please feel free. I'd love to hear, should I stick with this? Should I dump it? You know, like I said, I'm probably going to go back and read some reviews and watch some videos and listen to some podcasts and see if it's worth my time. But early impressions are, I might be ditching this.
It's rough.
Sea of Thieves has a 5-year anniversary coming back. I might start to sail the seas and just have some rum and forget all the real world stuff that this game's bringing up.
That's a fair approach, Mark. I'd agree. Well, I can transition to something else, also on Game Pass, not controversial unless you want to tell Todd to get good. And you know what? I'm open to being told get good. And that is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. This is Namco Tecmo Bandai. Yeah, I don't know the name of the company, Marty. Yeah, I named it. Team Ninja made this game, and this is essentially a pseudo sequel to like Neo or I'm trying to think of the other Souls-like game they made. And I'm trying to remember. It was the Low Ninja with one sword, so it was a little bit different than their standard games. But this game is a cool, like Ninja Gaiden Souls-like. It is high action. It is very fun to play. It's got this really funky customization system for your players. And I just decided I don't have time to choose all of my aesthetics. I'm just going to do random. And one of the first random customizations I got is like, you get like this weird, like text, like scroll over your face. And I'm like, why is that an option? Wouldn't I want to see what's over like my peripheral vision and seeing his thing? But I just thought it was so hilarious that's an option you could have. It's just like the scroll going over your face. I thought it was awesome. So I customized it by appearance. I looked a little bit pasty, but it was fun. And it is a game where feels like Ninja Gaiden, but it is Souls-like, where if you fail, you have to go back to your checkpoint, go back and find the guy who killed you, get back your souls or your health or whatever, and then do that. But every time you die, you still have to kill all the people that you killed previously. So it is a bit of a frustration that you may have to go back and complete the same area you're going through. But I could see a lot of people be very satisfied with this experience. It's getting good reviews, but I know enough about myself. This is not a game for me. I got enough from it in my hour of play that I don't want to do that for the next 60 hours or 50 hours or whatever, just to get to the first boss and then die 12 times and do these type of things. So I think it's, if you enjoy a melee action game that's fun, that you can choose your path in a Japanese aesthetic with demons and undead and big bosses and monsters, I think you'll enjoy it. But if those type of games have never spoke to you, I don't think this is going to be the one that gets to you. A Neo, Sekiro, those type of games. I mean, it's a different approach from, like, say, the FromSoft games, but once again, there's several different options you could try. And if you've tried those, you'll know if it's for you or not. But I think the fact that it's on Game Pass, just try it. It's fun. I enjoyed it. I even told my son, who played Bloodborne, played Elden Ring, I think he might like it. But for me, I got enough out of it to say, yeah, I'm glad I tried it. It just didn't speak to me to say I want to put 20 to 30 hours into this process to get good, to understand people's stance, to understand a way to attack a villain and learn from it. So, and you do get like a different co-op player to play with you, which is fun. I think it's neat because you can see what they can do to distract, and so you can complement their play or vice versa. It's pretty neat. But yeah, I mean, I think this is what Xbox needs to do, though, with Game Pass in an era where they don't have a lot of new games to put forward. They had Hi-Fi Rush, but their next game that is coming out is Minecraft Legends. Is that the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, until then. So it's like you essentially have almost 4 months of nothing. So you have to get these type of games to really show the service has a lot of merit. So Atomic Heart and this games. So it's the right approach. And that's good because it get people to come back to Game Pass. So I applaud them for doing this. They didn't do this last year. I think last year was very barren, except for like MLB The Show. So I'm glad they're doing it this year, and I think it's the right approach. So, and the great thing is Game Pass is cheap. It's free. There's trials. So this game wasn't a win for me, but it was really fun to try out just to get excited about something new.
Cool. Very cool.
But the game that I've been playing is Hogwarts Legacy. And, you know, we've talked about this, Mark. It's not for everybody. There's arguments against it. Totally get it. But this game is making me so happy. I'm having such a good time. I'm just enjoying all the different aspects it brings to the table. And if you are a Harry Potter fan and you don't care about the drama around it and you just want to be that world, this game is doing so many things that you have wanted to do. Like you can you can have your own room of requirement, and within that you have like your own area of like fantastic beasts where you can raise them and treat them like Pokemon, where you can get things from them like feathers and fur to do spells, and you build your room of requirement. You can get all the cool costuming, and then you can upgrade it. You can then transmogrify it. So if you like a specific aesthetic of like glasses, you keep those, but you apply that aesthetic to the better gear, which is awesome. So you can look the way you want. You don't get penalized. Like Destiny was the worst. It's like, I have great gear, but I look like I'm a hobo, and I've got gear I found at a flea market, and I don't look good, but that's the way I look to get my best level. So I'm really enjoying this game, and it's got lots of great, even seasonal world. You can it changes from like the spring to Christmas to the fall with pumpkins. It's great. I'm really enjoying it. All the different side missions, the way the world reacts, and I'm just having a blast. I love the combat and the just the fun you have with combat. Like you can use levitate and bring people forward, and use freeze and fire and shield, and it's great. I'm just loving it. So
very cool.
I can't say much about this game. And I was not expecting to love this game, and I've got to finish this game before RE4 remake comes out. So it's on my list to finish up and go from there.
Nice.
Well, that is it for what we've been playing. So now it's time to get into the bonus round. And this one's exciting because we have a video game amusement park coming in the US. We already happened in Japan. Super Nintendo World opened in Japan, I believe, in 2022. Now in the US at Universal Studios in California, we have the first video game amusement park launching now in tandem with the Mario movie happening essentially just a month away on the 7th of April. So Cheesy, how did you get invited to this?
Yeah, so I would love to say that Nintendo reached out to me, and I will just full honesty say that wasn't the case. I actually have a friend who I play Splatoon with, and another friend, and we were playing at that time, and she goes, "Oh, did you tell Cheesy what we're doing this weekend?" I was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" And my buddy said, "Oh, yeah, because I work with DreamWorks, I get to do a preview of Super Nintendo World. And I was like, I'm so happy for you guys. I'm not jealous at all, like that kind of thing. And then he was like, would you like to go? And it was just kind of a spur of the moment opportunity. This was on a Monday. They were going on Sunday. And
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
and just kind of like what Mark was talking about earlier, times are tough. My wife and I, we got laid off around the same time. And I told her about it. And I was like, I don't think I can pass up this opportunity. And she's like, oh, no, you're going. Like she was in full support, like that I had to go. So,
That's
Let's
amazing.
go.
oh, yeah, yeah, she's amazing. So, I got to go do a preview event of Super Nintendo World, and it was a 2-hour preview event. So my experience is probably a lot different than what people may be experiencing now. But
Right.
with what I was able to do, I think it was a great time.
So the unwashed masses are allowed into the park now, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So this, just to give the lay of the land, Universal Studios in California. I've been to Universal Studios in Florida, where they have the Hogsmeade, they have the world of Harry Potter, then they have the rest of the things in that world. I don't know the lay of the land in California. So is there? So Nintendo, Super Nintendo World is its own place within the whole park, correct?
Correct. So I will say, just approaching Super Nintendo World, it's so exciting, and like you said, it's our amusement park that's based on video games. Or right now, it really should just be called Mario Land, but hopefully they'll be expanding to other properties. But it is really cool to be in the center of that land and say, like, I am in the Mushroom Kingdom right now, and that's the castle, and that's Bowser's castle, which looks amazing. And just to think, like, Nintendo started off as a card company basically, and then they made consoles, and now here we are living in their world. That is something that, like, really just, it got me emotional. Honestly, it was a really great
Yeah.
moment that I don't know if I ever thought we would get to see.
So, have you been to Galaxy's Edge?
I haven't, not yet. No.
Okay. All right. Because you're describing that, and I had a very similar experience in Galaxy's Edge. It was walking through, and you kind of come out, depending on which entrance you're walking through, like the Muppets theaters right here, and then you kind of go through this corridor, and it's just like, oh, I'm in Star Wars now.
Yeah.
Like, there's a ship over here, and then you kind of round a corner, and it's like, that's the GD Millennium Falcon, and there's tears in my eyes, and I am living this childhood dream that I never thought would be real.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of vibes that I'm getting.
Yeah.
Scale wise, Galaxy's Edge for me was big enough. The crowd was dispersed enough. The ride times were a little long, and that happens when it's new rides. I was there 2 weeks after it opened, so you can kind of expect things to be a little tumultuous. How do you feel, like, size wise? Is there enough for a decent crowd? Is there enough places to move around? Is there enough there as of right now? Like, what's it like?
So I guess looking back at it, like when I was there, I was really excited. And now that I'm able to, like, kind of step away from that moment and look back, uh California, it's the where it's sitting right now is up against the Backlot Studio Tour, which is not a lot of room.
Mm.
And if they're going to expand, I have no idea how they're going to do that. So that's a little worrisome. And like I said, for me, it was a 2-hour preview event. So we got to do pretty much what we wanted to do. And there were a lot of people, but I wouldn't say to the amount of it's opening day and it's
Right.
super crowded and people can barely move. Like I've seen some footage that is honestly looks very overwhelming. So I think when it comes to Florida, it's going to be a lot better because they are building Epic Universe, and that's going to be part of their Epic
Mm.
Universe. And we know that they are getting a Donkey Kong ride as well, so they'll have, you know, the Mario Kart ride and Donkey Kong and that Donkey Kong Land. So it's a lot of fun, but yeah, just be ready if you're going. It might be a little crowded.
Hmm.
But it's also
So
one of those things that I don't think you can pass up. If you're going to Universal Studios Hollywood right now,
Yeah.
that is the best place that you could be.
And so that's one of the things you mentioned. It has one ride,
Yes.
and that's the Mario Kart ride.
Yeah.
The other thing I've heard rave reviews on is like the food is an
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So again, very much mirroring when I was at Galaxy's Edge, only one of the two rides were open.
Mm-hmm.
The rest was experience. It was building your own lightsaber, drinking the drinks, finding the blue milk stand,
Yeah.
having weirdly named food and weird concoctions. Seems like a very similar kind of vibe. Is the experience kind of like you think of a theme park and it's like ride, 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 ride. Is it just for me in Galaxy's Edge again was like just standing there staring around. I was like, I could stay here all day.
Yeah.
I read the book on the plane, so I was like, "Oh, you see that's where this happened," or "You see that banister? That's where a Wookiee fell off after he got shot and he bent the railing." Like that was like it was those little world building things of like finding a little hidden thing over there, finding this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you spend 2 hours in this and not touch a ride and still be satisfied?
And not touch a ride. That is a good question. I think you could. I think you could. If you weren't going on the Mario Kart ride, just to say that you've experienced Super Nintendo World, you would have a good time. And so part of it, though, part of that experience is going to cost you. Obviously, that's, you know, what theme parks do. They nickel and dime you, but you will get a power up band, and there's 6 power up bands. Yeah, so this is the Luigi band, and
Nice.
it costs $40.
Whoa.
So as soon as you get in the park, you don't have to get it, but I highly recommend it if you're wanting the full experience of Super Nintendo World. But also, what's kind of cool about this power-up band is it works as an amiibo. So coins that you collect in Super Nintendo World, you can transfer them over into Mario Kart. You can also have like a Luigi costume for your Mii. So it's not like a great amiibo, but it's kind of cool that you're able to like take this back home and still use it.
So would an amiibo work the same in the park? Like, could you take it? Because you touch that band to different areas in the park and something will light up or something, you know.
You get some coins or you hit a Koopa, right? Or it does a reaction, right? Yeah.
If I brought my Luigi amiibo with me, does it do the same thing, or do you
it
know?
Might make the same like sounds if you're like hitting a question mark block, but on the back of the power up band there's a QR code, so you scan the QR code and then it takes you to the Super Nintendo World app, and then I was like Team Luigi, so for that day you are on Team Luigi, and that's kind of fun because you see all the different like Mario, Peach, Yoshi, Toad, Daisy, and Luigi. And so for the day, or at least I think it's within the 4-hour span, it will tell you like what team is winning, and then it will just clear it out for the next group. But then it will show you all day, so like what team has been doing the best all day. So it's pretty interactive, and that's the part I think, even though it's pricey, as soon as you get in the park, get that power up band, because then when you're going and exploring and hitting a question mark block, well, you get a stamp for hitting your first question mark block. And then there's little 8-bit characters you can find in the park. Like there might be a little Mario symbol on a wall, and you use your power up band to scan it, and then 8-bit Mario pops up, stuff like that. And you get stamps. So like if you're also a completionist, you probably aren't going to complete it in one day. Actually, I know you're not going to complete it, because we got a stamp that was like, you visited Super Nintendo World through the months of December through January. So they're wanting you to come back multiple times. They've got it all figured out. Oh, yeah.
Holy.
I was going to say, because I did Universal Studios Orlando and did the Hogwarts, Diagon Alley, Hogmeads, and getting to Mark's point, doing all the things you there. I mean, getting your wand and then interacting with the world. There are multiple park rides there. We did not get to do the new ride when we were there because it was just opening up, but there was 3 rides. And so I could see where this complements better once it's part of a bigger thing, because then you could say, well, I'm not going to spend all day in Mario World, but I'm going to come back and do some cool things. So I think it works better in a complementary of just like, I'm not going to spend all day in Hogsmeade or in Diagon Alley. I'm going to go and ride the Transformer ride, do things like that. I think that's where it brings in the whole value of I can do this, and I'm not just thinking about one aspect of it, but it adds to it, and it's additive, and it gets bigger, especially when they bring in more rides. So my question is, though, the one ride that was there was the Mario Kart ride. So how was it? I've heard it's like a mix of AR, VR, AR. What is it like?
Yeah, so there is one ride. I want to mention it real fast, that there is a secret attraction. I wouldn't really call it a ride. But part of the Super Nintendo world is you have to go and collect 3 keys. And if you get the 3 keys, then you get to go to Bowser Jr.'s castle to rescue the golden mushroom. Like, that's the whole point of the land. Yeah, okay. So there's like a reason for why you're doing all
There's
of
a
these
meta game involved. Okay.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so there's the way that you get the 3 keys is little interactive mini games, but they're not like a touch screen or anything. It's like one was to don't wake up the piranha plant. So they had a bunch of huge like alarm clocks, and they're in like different zones. So you had like one zone and then another zone over here and then another zone over here. And if an alarm clock is like going off and it's blinking red, you slap it. So stuff like that, and within the time limit, you just don't wake up the piranha plant. Another one was a Goomba that's like rolling on a log, and you just have to keep cranking it and cranking it and cranking it until it falls over. Stuff like that. So it's very interactive.
Like so mini quests.
Bring some hand sanitizer. Because you're going to be touching a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like those areas. Now, when I went, the lines weren't that long. From what I've seen, though, if you're not on the Mario Kart ride, you're going to be trying to collect keys or be doing something. And I guess those lines get pretty long, and there is no shade, at least when I went. Hopefully they've figured that out. They put some canopies up or something, something that works. But that might be a problem.
Yeah.
But so when you're on the Mario Kart ride, you can also use your power-up band, and that will get you a stamp in the Super Nintendo world. But the ride itself is AR, and it's a lot of fun. I was really enjoying myself. Like, you go through like Luigi's mansion, you go through Bowser's castle, you go underwater, and they do a really great job. It is a dark ride, so it is, I guess, a little slow, but when you're looking around at everything, it doesn't feel like it. And I think they do a really good job of making it feel like you're going faster than you actually are. And if you know Mario Kart, you'll know some of the sounds that are happening. Like, there at one time we got electrocuted, when someone used a lightning item, and it feels like you're small. And so, like, you're just familiar with those things that are happening at that time. So you have these AR goggles. I guess it's like a visor. You get a Mario hat, and then when you get up to the ride, they have a visor that just kind of snaps into place. It's magnetic. And the part that I've heard a lot of people say they're kind of iffy on the ride about is that it can be a little overstimulating, because the way that the ride works is you see your Mario characters, like the Bowser characters. Those are the ones that you're using your items on, and you are looking around, and that's how you aim. So you have triggers on the steering wheel, and then if you're wanting to hit your shell at someone, you look in that direction and you hit the button. So even though there's like a lot to be there's a lot around you and a lot to look at. You are also looking all over the place to try to get these characters.
It's not like a roller coaster though. It sounds more like the toy.
It's like a
story ride.
Yeah.
Because there's a Toy Story ride at Disney that I did that it's very similar. Like I'm using kind of like interactive experience to do that, but it's not like I'm going on Space Mountain. I'm going 30 miles per hour. I feel it. This is more of an interactive experience that's more for all ages versus like, oh, you can't take your 2-year-old because they probably puke or they can't ride it.
They'll enjoy it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll.
Well, probably too young for 2-year-olds. Yeah,
maybe.
With that age. Yeah. So Finn might not be able to do it yet, Mark.
Yeah.
So the last part is obviously the experience. It's like, does it feel like Mario? Food in those carts. I've heard so much about the food there and that experience. And like, was it Toad's Cafe?
How was that? Cafe. Yeah. Actually, it was probably like my favorite part of it, just because it's a sit-down restaurant, and even before you want to go eat, you have to get a reservation. And so there's people outside with the iPad, and you put your name down, and then they'll text you when your table is ready. But it's a sit-down restaurant, and everything is really well thought out. For like our meal. We got a bunch of different meals. Like mine was a Luigi. It was the Luigi burger, which is a chicken sandwich. I think is perfect because Luigi's a chicken.
A chicken, yeah.
Yeah, and
with ghost pepper. Does it have ghost pepper cheese?
It does. No, it had.
Big mistake.
But yeah, you're right. It should have had ghost pepper cheese or like at least pepper jack or something and make it a little spicy. But it had a bell pepper pesto. Everything green on it, and then it had a painted mustache, and then it comes with a Luigi topper hat.
Nice,
that's awesome.
You can take that home if you want as a little souvenir. They also have a Mario burger. They've got a superstar chicken salad where all the croutons are star shaped. They had the fireball spaghetti, and it's comes out with a little Parmesan crisp of a fire flower. And so it's all like really Instagrammable food, if that's like your thing, you're gonna love it there. But what makes it really great is while you're sitting and waiting for your food, you have screens that are kind of all around you, and you're either looking at the Mushroom Kingdom of Toads just like walking around, or where we got to sit, which I highly recommend if you get the opportunity, is towards the kitchen. And you see Toads just working away on what is possibly your food, but everybody has a job, and it's so cute to like see them chopping food, and then the other one comes by, grabs the pot and goes and takes it somewhere else, and they all have to like walk up step stools to even get up to the counter or the stove. But during your dining experience, there's one part where the music you're listening to is like Galaxy and 3D World and just really good music. But then all of a sudden it gets really dark and heavy, and the skies are turning gray, and you're like, what is going on? And Bowser's airship is like flying through, and bullet bills are coming down, and the Toads in the kitchen kind of like hear about it, and they're like, we don't know what to do, and they kind of like run in a circle, and they're like, we got to get out of here. And there's one Toad that is like whisking away at a dish, and they like pull the Toad out of the kitchen, and then you see that Toad go back in and is like, I got to get this done, and starts whisking even faster. But then a bullet bill flies through the kitchen, and that's what gets it out. And it's just stuff like that I love, that is the charm and something that they didn't need to do, but I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
And their mascot is Chef Toad, which
nice.
I love Captain Toad, so the fact that we have a Chef Toad now makes me very happy, and makes me wonder, what are they doing with Chef Toad? Because as far as like exclusivity of Super Nintendo World, I would say that is the only thing that is really exclusive to that park.
Their mascot.
Yeah, so either Chef Toad is just for Super Nintendo World, or maybe we'll see him in the Mario movie, or we're getting like a cooking style game. I don't know.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
But I would say for theme park food, it was really good. Like it's
Nice.
it's pricey, you know, it's pretty much what you're expecting.
Sure.
But yeah, that was a good time.
Very,
That's
very
great.
cool. And obviously, there's a merch store. You can get all the cool stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of the experience with any of these things, and totally get it. It's going to be pricey, but you kind of have to expect that. And hopefully it delivers on the experience, which it sounds like it does. And it's only going to get better as this expands. So
It does. Yeah. And I guess I kind of like skipped over some things as far as, you know, right now it is just a Mario Park, but I think they do a great job of giving us some kind of Mario lore that we don't really get a lot of in the Mario games. Like we're probably going to see that with the Mario movie, but at least with the queue line of the Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, it takes you through like the Mario Kart room, and you get to see all the trophies and the Universal Cup, which is the thing that you're after. So if you get 100 coins, you get the Universal Cup. I did not, because my band didn't work on the ride, but I think it's great that I got Luigi'd at Super Nintendo World, so it makes it a little better, you know. The other part that you go through is like Bowser's chamber or his library, I guess, because there's a lot of great books while you're just like waiting in line that are titled like Deja Vu or which Koopa is your, or how to tell your Koopas apart, red and green, or dental hygiene for chain chomps, you know, just stuff like that actually shows that Bowser cares for his minions. And I kind of hope we see that in the movie. Like he's a single dad and he's taking care of all of these minions. Like I want to see that part of Bowser that's like, you know what, maybe this guy's just doing his best.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
How to talk to princesses.
Was Jack Black doing the Bowser voice, or is that just not synergy yet?
No, they don't have anybody talking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's good to know.
Yeah. But I think a lot is really well thought out. And they have an area just outside of the ride where you can like look through the binoculars, you know, that you look through in like 3D world, the green and yellow ones. You can look through those, and that's AR. So you can see the people that are walking around the park, but then you also might see like a question mark block flying through, or Wendy is on top of a mushroom. And apparently there's a Pikmin somewhere, but I couldn't find it.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. We're at the beginning of this journey, and it's going to get even better, especially they'll be doing new things in Japan. We've got Florida opening very soon, and that's going to be the biggest probably of these things because they got the most room to expand, especially you talk about Universal Studios will be doing that. And, you know, I think the fact that they did the Harry Potter one first leads them into, they know how to do these worlds that are expansive. You walk in and you feel like you're part of the universe. So this is very, very cool. So we can't wait. So thank you, Cheesy, for taking you through this journey. But you know what? Enough about just this. We want to go beyond that. So we want every one of us to give our picks for what would we want for our own picks for an attraction at our own amusement park from any video game franchise, not just Nintendo, go beyond that. So I can start with mine if that helps give everybody a little bit extra time before they do theirs. So I'm going to go with Castlevania. I'm going to go with Castlevania. I want one of those spooky rides. So I did this at the Minnesota State Fair. We had a really crappy, probably 45-second ride, and this crappy like horror themed, but it was not horrific at all. It was like a little mine cart takes you through, and I'm like, there's a crappy skeleton, not spooky whatsoever, but I want the Castlevania treatment. I want skeletons throwing bones at me. I want Simon Belmont. I want Dracula. I want that in a immersive 3D, maybe AR. I want that spooky treatment with Castlevania. Give it to me now. Castlevania is inept, so I know I won't get that. So I don't know. That's what I want. Castlevania in an amusement park ride.
That sounds fun. That sounds kind of like what you could do the same as like the Indiana Jones ride. If you ever have ridden that,
or Luigi's Mansion ride. I mean, just something spooky, creepy, goofy, weird. Yeah, exactly.
So
And
my original one was actually, I was going to say, a Luigi's Mansion, but similar to kind of a mix of like Haunted Mansion mixed with the Men in Black ride, where you're actually like shooting things, interact kind of thing. A little slower than the Men in Black because you're trying to suck them up in the vacuum cleaner or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was my original thought. So I'm glad we're all thinking that same kind of spooky vibe. But I went in a different direction. I'll drop my next. I did stick with kind of Nintendo though. So I would love a Pokemon ride similar to the Avatar ride in Animal Kingdom. Where you're sitting on the Banshee and flying all through Pandora, and it's that 3D with like the wind effects, and you can feel you go through a waterfall and you feel like the splash of water on your face. I want that, and you're riding some sort of Pokemon, whether it's a legendary bird or something, but you're being, so kind of mix of whatever Flight of Pandora or whatever that ride's called, and Soarin', also in Disney World, Epcot, I believe that one's in. Basically like a flight simulator kind of ride where you're going through some of the different regions. You can hit Kanto, you can hit Johto, you can hit the Galar region. And it's something that they could update as they do new games. You could drop it in kind of like Star Tours does, where you're flying through different scenarios. So it could be different each time. And you don't exactly know which variation of the ride you're going to get at any given point. But, you go up through the clouds and you dive back down, you're in a different region, and you go, close to the ground, you're seeing different Pokemon run around, or like a giant Snorlax or something kind of gets in your way. You got to jeer, go to your right, go to your left, whatever. And I think that would be really, really cool. Like I love the Avatar ride. I love Soarin'. Those kind of rides always get me. Star Tours, like I love that. So yeah, bring me to that in Pokemon. I just want to fly through and be the very best. I think that'd be really cool.
That'd be cool.
Yep. Cheesy. You already there?
Yeah.
What do you think they should add?
I think I'm gonna kind of cheat because, like, as far as Super Nintendo World, like, I've got a lot of ideas. I think not even just attractions, but like, we need to have a Able Sisters place where you can buy clothing or maybe make your own clothing. That would be
so
really
Splatoon.
Cool. That would be Animal Crossing. But with
God,
Splatoon,
what am I thinking? Like, I was like thinking, I'm like, I don't know this Animal Crossing thing what you guys are talking about. Is this a new game? Maybe.
No, so the Able Sisters is a.
Just kidding. Mark is all into Animal Crossing. I know nothing about Animal Crossing, so that's why I'm like, because I know you're a big Splatoon fan. I'm like, Splatoon makes so much sense to do it in a game, process like playing the floor.
Yeah.
But I don't want to give any ideas away.
I don't know if I would want like a Splatoon ride. I've seen people say something like Toy Story, but it would be the same thing as the Mario Kart ride. I think what works best for Splatoon is a show. Like they already do the live shows and they already have that technology.
Yep.
Bring it over to Universal.
I think
just like 15-minute shows every hour or whatever, like that would, I think, work really well.
Yep. 100%.
And then as far as a Pokemon ride, I would love if they did a kiddie version of Pokemon Snap.
Oh.
And you're able to actually use your phone on the ride. And you can take your own photos of Pokemon that you see. Like there would be a reason for why you get to use your phone and like, stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Tie it into Pokemon Go or its own app or something like. Oh man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So good.
Put it with the Pokemon Plus or whatever that was.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh shoot, that'd be so good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that they can do.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking like for my ride, like taking pictures, but that's such a good spin on it.
Well, because
holy crap!
That's what
I was saying, Mark. You could put your soaring and connect it with the Pokemon Snap because you're actually viewing the world. Yeah,
that is so good.
And I made a tweet. I think it was a couple days ago that it would be neat if this year for Halloween Horror Nights, if they did a Luigi's Mansion.
That'd be good.
Yes.
That'd be good.
That way the
Yeah.
kids have something, and like you also, it's Luigi's Mansion. If there's anything that I want, it's more Luigi Mansion, and I'm ready for Charlie Day to be the best Luigi. So we get a Luigi Mansion movie, and yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
100%. So good.
So I am going to make one extra option that I think would be awesome, because I've been to the Spider-Man ride at Universal Studios many times, the Marvel Islands of Adventure. If they could make that the Halo experience, where you're going on with Master Chief, essentially on like a warthog, and you're riding around and you're taking on the Covenant, that would be amazing. Because I think that's one of the best rides. It's old as heck, but it's amazing. And with the 3D effects and all those things with Spider-Man, and it's a really dated ride. But I mean, I think it's time for Marvel to take back all of the stuff from Universal and put it on Disney. But if you could do that with like some new properties, I think that would be amazing, because it's such a cool ride. It's so interactive, 3D, and I think Halo would work really well with that. It would bring you into Chief, like trying to protect you, like he's trying to protect a warthog and taking on the Covenant. I think that'd be really cool too.
I just thought of one. I don't know how you would get it to work, but if they somehow made it feel just as real, it would be amazing. I want to experience Rocket League.
Oh, that would be cool. Like the Fast and the Furious, but in Dome and doing all these crazy things. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And flying and yeah.
That'd be wicked. I'm trying to think of the best. Now, again, I'm going Nintendo franchise, but like to stick on a roller coaster, and I'm going back and forth between Star Fox and Metroid. And I can't decide which one, but like I'm thinking Space Mountain mixed with like some
Star
like Fox kind of stuff coming at you, or even Rock and Roller Coaster that's like everything's coming at you in like neon 3D and that kind of stuff, and it's like, I think Star Fox would be sick. Oh, that'd be awesome too. Just a Splatoon coaster.
Yep.
Just going through and see
all the music great. And Calamari incantation, like that right there just sells it.
Yeah. Rock and Roller Coaster with like Splatoon music pumping through, and you're going like 0 to 60 in a second. Oh man, that'd be amazing.
Be a huge trip, especially for people that have no idea what Splatoon is. They're
exactly.
Like,
so weird. Those creepy anime figures. That'd be so weird. Mark, I was going to say though, the last thing you could do is let's just turn that Water World attraction Universal into a wave race experience.
Yes.
Because nobody knows what Water World is anymore.
How many episodes is this? Well, 109. It's taken 109 episodes for Todd to mention Wave Race before I did. Folks, mark this one down. I might retire right now. Like that, I can't get better than that. Todd just mentioned Wave Race before I did. Are you kidding me? I just listed off 3 or 4 different rides before. Why didn't I say a Wave Race ride? I don't even know. I guess
I'm a bigger fan.
My mind is blown right now.
Yeah. Call me Todd Wave Race 64 Oxtra. That's my new title.
If that sticks, I quit.
It's a good time to end the podcast at this point, because Mark admits that Todd likes Wave Race more than he does.
Evidently, yeah.
Apparently it's all lives, but oh well. This has been a fun time. We've gone all over the map. It's been a little bit crazy, but you know what? I blame it on Cheesy, because you bring the fun, you bring the crazy, and it's been such a great time having you on. So Cheesy, tell people where they can find you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me back, and I'm just so happy to see you guys. And you can find me on TikTok, on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, CheezyC64, CheezyC 64. I'm also on the Nintendo Powercast, so you can listen to that wherever you listen to podcasts.
Excellent.
Wow. This has been fun. I love it. And thank you for telling us all about your times at Universal Studios and Nintendo World. This is awesome. So Mark, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks again, Cheesy. This was amazing. I'm gonna be thinking about rides all night now. But if you want to talk rides or anything else with us, you can find me on those same platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, wherever at @the_Canardian, and on Xbox and Switch if you want to play there as Canardian, or just hit me up in the Discord channel and let's come up with some more rides. And you can rub it in my face that I didn't say Wave Race before Todd did.
You can follow me at Toxtra for all things not really related to most of the stuff I do. But then for all the good stuff, at Secret Friends U for Twitter, secretfriendsunite.com for all things Secret Friends, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite for all things we're doing on Patreon. Check us out. See if you want to support us. Thank you for that. And then after that, just join our Discord. We're having a good time. We love the people that are there. We're having a great time. And we want to talk about the silliest things that you love in the world of nerd. So with that, thank you, Cheesy. Thank you, Mark. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.